Hi guys, welcome to a second tutorial that we had this past Saturday where we deconstructed the diagram that had some rendering and gradient shading below line work that we output from Rhino and then transported it into Illustrator, and then we're going to annotate it in the end and into InDesign. So start in Rhino, create a new file. I did small objects inches. And then go to your units to make sure that it's put to feet and inches and that your precision is at, I just leave it at 1/8, but you can place it at whatever you'd like. And then I'm going to bump up my tolerance to be 5 floating decimal points. Hit OK. And then I'm going to create some curves that have some three-dimensional curvature to them so that we get some unique intersections and some complexity within the shading of the surface. So create some curves. And then I'm going to pull them apart so that I can loft them together. Okay, and now I have one surface. I'm just going to copy and rotate this one up so that it intersects and have a half intersection occurring within those two surfaces. I'm going to scale this one as well so that we can see behind it a little bit more easily. Okay. So then in terms of these two surfaces, some of you are having issues with intersections and when you make 2D. Ideally, if there is an intersection that goes completely across an object, as I'll show you here, if you type in the term split, it'll split the object that it's completely intersecting, and then you'll get that intersection between the two of them. But you'll also get two separate surfaces from the one that you split. So for those of you that don't want to necessarily do that, a troubleshooting method you can use if it's just in a precise location that you're not going to change later on is intersect. What this does is it creates a line between the two of those surfaces. However, it's not associative, so if you move this surface forward, it's going to remain upon the last location that it was at. I would suggest if you do this method to create a layer and call it intersect lines or something that clearly says what it is, and put all of those lines to this layer so that when you're working with them you can see them within your workspace. However, I'm going to also show you one more method that I use, and it's called offset surface. What this does is it provides thickness to my geometry. So I'm going to select this surface and then offset it 0.125 and then make sure it's solid so that it's closed. What this will do is create this as a series of polysurfaces now, so that this intersection between the two surfaces is reading as a region, so therefore it can remove the space between the two of them. When there is a line existent between the two, Rhino cannot remove just a line as there's no region indicated. So now if you type in split, and I split this first surface by the second, what we'll get is the area where they're overlapped, and this will read clearly as a line in the Make2D. Sometimes the intersects are complicated, especially with curved surfaces, and that's why when you try to make a Make2D, the intersection won't be legible. However, this is a permanent manipulation to this surface, so that this region is definitely no longer part of that initial one, so it's damaging it. So if you need to make surfaces for a Make2D and you need to edit them in this manner, I suggest that you create another file that would just be used for making line work. But in terms of this right now, I'm going to leave it as a poly surface and a surface, and then develop it for the diagram. So now I'm going to select my view. I'm going to just make it so that you can clearly see what's behind it and a little bit of what's below, and then create a named view for it, which we've done before. Just save as diagram 01. And now when I change, I can always go back to my view that I have specified. So for here I'm going to pause, and then we're going to jump into how to make the 2D and putting lines that are hidden, tangential, and the interior and exterior outlines onto separate layers.